Bum bum. Ba-da-dum bum bum ba-dum bum. Ba-da-dum bum bum bum. Bum-ba-da-dum bum bum bum. Bum-ba-da-dum bum bum bum. Daily solution. Daily solutions. Perfect. That's
All right, great.
better than
That's
most
how
of
we
our
do our
intros. Yeah, it's
All right, so I am Graham,
and I'm Ashkan,
and we're here with a guest today.
yeah.
Hi, I'm Gina Schimpf, and I've got a question for you guys about water quality after speaking with Jake. In our area, we have very high levels of chlorine. I mean, when you're ready to drink your water out of the tap, you can smell the levels of chlorine, and there's a lot of iron, and it's very hard. So we were always thinking about using a filter before filling our tanks, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. So I was going to ask you about water testing, what you would recommend in terms of testing your water to see if it's okay to use tap water, or you should use alternate methods.
Sure.
Yeah.
So maybe before we jump into that, we should explain why Gene is even here with us in person right now.
Yeah. So we are at the Rise Float Gathering over in St. Louis, which is another float event that we don't run, which is a pleasure every single year to attend. And we're doing some live podcasting from there. So if you hear any noise in the background, or if our intro seemed like we only did it in one take, this is why. Yeah.
And we also have Mr. Jake Marty here on the podcast as well with us.
Hey guys.
So
Down
extra-
here in St. Louis.
Yeah, extra bonus information coming out from these episodes. Jake's really the only one who knows anything about any of this stuff, so it's probably good that he's with us
Yeah,
now.
that's why we usually don't let him on the podcast. Yeah, he'll
It's
really embarrass
embarrassing.
us.
It's really embarrassing for the two of us.
And this wasn't planned. He didn't know I was going to ask this question
No,
either.
This is real life.
a little excited here.
All right, so what should you do to filter your water? How important is it to filter your water that you're putting into your float tanks?
Also knowing what's actually in your water. A lot of municipalities will actually print a report each year. They're doing independent testing. So you like iron levels, arsenic, manganese, and things like that. So nice report you can get in your city.
I didn't know about that. Cool.
So here's the interesting thing about chlorine specifically, as you were talking about those levels in the water, is that even if you have high levels of chlorine in your tap water, which even the levels of chlorine, the highest levels of chlorine that could come in tap water, do not approach the highest levels of chlorine that you find in like a pool or a hot tub. You know, chlorine in pools and hot tubs, a lot of states have maximums set to like 8 or 10 parts per million. And if you have a lot of chlorine in your drinking water, you're probably talking like 1 or 2 parts per million. You know? So you're still a decent threshold away from that. But even if you had high levels of chlorine in your float tank or in your tap water that you're using to fill your float tank, it's probably not gonna stick around that long. Like the whole pools have to constantly be dosing chlorine into their system because it's continuously getting used up by people swimming in there and stuff like that. So of all the things to be concerned about in terms of the long-term effects of what's in your source water and what's going into your float tank, like that might be not great for the very beginning, and you might have some combined chlorine and a few things like that, but that's not going to be like a long-term. You're not going to always have a bunch of chlorine in your float tank because you filled it up with tap water that had a bunch of chlorine in it.
And when you're refilling your tank, you're really only putting,
Little.
a small
Little
amount
bit.
compared to the amount of water that's actually in your tank.
But it's everything else too that kind of comes along with that ends up being the problem. I mean, really, like we recommend everyone should filter every drop of water going into their float tank at the very least every time. And really, like our ideal setup, I mean, at Float On, if we could have it, we'd have a point of entry filtration where, like right there at the source going into the building, it's just being filtered so that everything kind of going into the whole building is filtered.
It is a little stressful, the idea of like flushing filtered water. but yeah, it's an ideal world.
You can get a manifold and just toilet on one and everything else on,
Split those out.
And I mean, the interesting thing is there's a lot of different levels of water filtration. Like there's all the way from, you can get like an RV filter that just is used for getting out heavy metals, things like that from the water. And stuff like that those are usually the biggest problems float centers are hitting, is actually high metal content in the water, because then when you add oxidizers or for whatever various treatment system you're using, that's what can sometimes make your float tank like turn bright orange or start to like create stains and stuff like that. It's typically the metal or mineral content much more than it is the level of chlorine.
You have a lot of iron, like especially if you're in wall water or something like that. You can have a lot of iron. We actually came across a float center recently.
Yeah, just a week ago.
Yeah, just a week ago, and they was having so much trouble with iron in their water. they actually started filling their float tanks with bottled water, distilled water.
Really?
So avoiding
Yeah.
the whole system.
I didn't know
Yeah,
about
they're
that.
like, why do you have thousands of pounds of Epsom salt next to thousands of gallons of like distilled
Wow.
water? And
Crazy.
That was their answer.
But that's really extreme. I like actually getting full-on distilled water is both expensive and pretty extreme.
A little wild, yeah.
In terms of sanitation purposes, most of the time when you're talking to, at least in the pool and spa world sort of realm of things, they're usually just filling with their city's water.
Yep.
You know, they're not doing anything particularly crazy when they're filling things up. And you know, there's various levels of filtration you can get, and there's obviously things way beyond the scope of what we're talking about, right? Like when you're making like silicon chips for computers or something, you're using like extremely purified water.
Right.
So where we fall on that spectrum, what we should be really looking for purification and filtration of water, in my opinion, is a little bit closer to just regular tap water than it is towards extreme filtration. Like, it's nice to have one layer of something where you can filter out heavy metals and things like that. It's pretty easy to add on that level of filtration, and then going crazy extreme beyond that, I think, is probably not hugely necessary.
And a lot of the things, fortunately, we want to filter out for float tanks are just what filters are tackling as their, like, RV filters, like regular point of entry filters, whatever you're attaching to a house. It's also going to want to take out the heavy metals, and I mean, usually it also lists that it'll strip out like a lot of the chlorine and bromine if that's been added to. But like, there's a lot of them that are really like good at getting out even kind of the smaller molecules that are in there, which is nice. So like, nothing we want to do, I guess, is unique to our business or even unique to wanting water that is in a public area or anything.
But it's really, like the city, cities can be different, for sure. The cities across the United States, around the world, they have all sorts of different materials they use for their piping to get the water to you. Obviously, there's things like Flint, Michigan. You know, there's these cases out there where you can't just like exactly be totally happy with the tap water you're getting, or you know, how old the infrastructure is for getting water around from places. Even places like Portland have had scares with things like cryptosporidium from their drinking water in the past, and like the city or the state is making them redo their municipal drinking water systems to update their standards and things like that. So it's worthwhile looking into. It's probably slightly less of a concern than you may think. And there are, like Jake said, totally city reports where they'll tell you like where you get your water from, what their thresholds for levels are, and what they're retesting. And they're testing in like the parts per billion is usually when you're looking at levels of things like arsenic or stuff like that. You know, way smaller than we're even testing for things, and when we look at them in float tanks. And it's good to know at the very least. It's also just kind of interesting.
I mean, often float tank water is cleaner than your tap water, so that's kind of nice. I mean, you know,
I wouldn't drink it. I wouldn't drink it,
but I wouldn't drink it.
Now, I'd forgotten about the reports, so that's the first place I'm going to go, and then do a little test sample now that I know what kind of salt I'm using. We're going to start playing around with it.
Great.
Very cool. Thank you.
All right. Did that answer your question? Or?
It does. I'm sure I'll have follow-ups,
we
but
did
I'll
it.
Wow, we get
deal with
feedback
that later.
on it.
Thank you so much. That was
Usually we
awesome.
just sort of like say things and we assume that it would answer someone's questions. So yeah, this is great.
Thank you,
Positive
Gina.
affirmation. Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Yeah,
being
thanks,
here.
Gina.
For
Thanks,
those of you
guys.
out there listening, thanks for listening. If you have more questions for us, you can just fly over to St. Louis and come to the Rise Float Gathering. And
Yep, or if you're already here, just tackle
Ask
one of
them in
us. We're the
person.
guys in robes.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, have a good one.